All right, I think we're going to get that started. It's 9 o'clock sharply in the Pacific time. So again, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. We're so excited to have Rachel and Home to Go joining us to talk about the state of the vacation rental industry in 2021. I am Pedro Leo. I am the Vice President of Business Development today, and as I've mentioned, I'll have the pleasure to have Rachel Tabellion from Home to Go. She's the head of sales of Home to Go joining us today. How are you feeling today, Rachel?
I am great. Hi everyone. Thanks so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to share this webinar with you, Pedro, and with the Hostfully team. Great. It's already 6 p.m. in Berlin, so we are a CET time. So yeah, it's a perfect fashion to end my day with you guys. So very excited to have this conversation and look at both your amazing report and the data we pulled as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you again. It's a pleasure. It's an honor to have you guys with us. Before we get that started, we're going to take a look at the agenda today. Hostfully, we'll be doing a look back at 2020. So we're going to talk a little bit about the market overview of 2020, some challenges that property managers have faced, also softwares in vacation rental management, guest satisfaction, multi-channel distribution and booking origins, and also COVID-19, a very hot topic today. Home to Go will be doing a look ahead at 2021, and they'll be basically chatting about where and when people are traveling, who travelers travel with, the most popular destination in 2021, what travelers expect from property managers, and also how property managers are securing their future. For those who haven't downloaded the report yet, please do. There's amazing information, a lot of nice content out there. Those are the links, so feel free to take a screenshot or reach out directly to us and we can send you the link as well. Most importantly, take a look at it. Very, very, very nice. For those who haven't heard about Hostfully yet, Hostfully thrives helping vacation rental managers run their business and provide a 5-star hospitality. We support 2 different products. We have a property management platform that's fully integrated with different OTAs, including Home to Go. And we also have a digital guidebook that was designed to basically improve your guest satisfaction and provide more 5-star hospitalities. All right, so let's get that started. Let's take a look at the market overview of 2020. And the first takeaway we had with that survey was basically a shift in perception of competition. So if we take a look at this chart here on the right, we can see that 35% have reported slightly more competition, while 22% has reported a lot more competition. So grouping those together, we come up to a number of 57% reporting competition increase. For 25%, reported no change, and 18% competition has decreased. And when we take a look at the data from 2019, we can see that 80% reported competition increase back then, while 18% reported no change and 2% reported less competition. So as we can see, 2020 has a little less competition reported. However, we can still see the competition is being increasing and the market is increasing as well. Another takeaway that we had was basically growth was strongly linked to portfolio size. 100% of the managers with 50+ properties reported growth, while managers with less than 50 properties didn't report much growth yet. And we understand that they were focused on optimizing their marketing strategies, which is pretty understandable. Why? Updating listing descriptions, basically taking better pictures, or even creating a direct booking site can be a low cost and a low risk strategy when compared to property acquisition. So taking a look at the chart, we can see that improved marketing was the #1 growth strategy used by hosts and managers in 2020. That was followed by increased rates, add new properties, dynamic pricing, add a new software, upsell, and those were the most popular growth strategies that we found out in that report. Another takeaway was the dynamism in the industry remains pretty strong. And if we take a look at the data, we asked our participants what's the growth methods planned for the following year. And in 2019, we've had increased occupancy rate, add new properties, improve pricing, and upsell additional services are the top four methods. And in 2020, that hasn't changed much. As we see, that's still the most used growth methods for planning for 2021. Now let's take a look at the expert insight. Matt Landau is the founder of VRMB. Do you guys know Matt yet? Matt is awesome. Matt has helped a lot of vacation rental managers become more successful. So a big shout out to Matt for helping the industry as in general. And VRMB has this amazing tool that was designed to help property managers become more independent of listing websites. And what happened was that during the pandemic, they've seen 3 times more completions than before the pandemic. And that basically suggests that property managers and are basically nervous about being controlled by major OTAs and are getting more serious about diversifying their marketing portfolios. So a lot of property managers really trying to diversify, use different channels, and essentially be less dependent of one single OTA. Now let's take a look at some challenges in the vacation rental management. We found out that in 2020, the challenges hit the hosts in different ways, and also tech requirements are very diverse. So every year, that's a very nice question we ask in the report. Every year we ask the participants that if they had a magic wand and they could basically make a challenge disappear, what they would make it. And surprisingly, we expected that COVID-19 would be the number one, right? However, 30% reported technology, while 18% reported turnover and cleaning, followed by marketing, more direct bookings, and finally, COVID-19. And what is pretty interesting to see that data is that tech remain a big issue to property managers. And of course, different operations require different softwares. And not every PMS is the same. We also could take a look and understand that sometimes smaller property managers are not really using PMSs yet. And that basically could justify their hard time with technology or the challenges that they're facing with technology. Also, due to COVID-19 in 2020, new cleaning protocols and requirements arise, and that basically bumped up the turnover and cleaning from 4% in 2019 to 18% in 2020. So a lot more challenges in turnover and cleaning. And then in the marketing, we also have seen a shift from the guest profile, right? Before we had a lot of international travelers basically coming to our properties, and now we can see basically more remote workers and domestic travelers. So there was a little challenge right there, basically, adapting those campaigns to make sure that we are hitting the right audience. But what has gotten easier? Maybe something got easy, right? Not really. 27%, the majority of the participants reported that nothing has gotten easier. However, 17% reported that marketing has gotten easier. 8% reported that guest experience has gotten easier, and that was followed by automation, guest communication, centralization, and pricing. But what's interesting to take a look at here is that 15% reported nothing in 2019, and that number went up to 27% in 2020. We know it was a hard year. COVID hit it pretty hard, but we almost doubled the amount of people reporting that nothing has gotten easy. The reason that marketing could be a little easier this year for some people is that we have a lot more direct bookings website out there, and essentially tools like Instagram, Facebook, or any other paid campaigns, can actually bring more audience to your direct booking website. So that might be one of the reasons that marketing has gotten easier for some of these folks. And also, if we take a look at order, we see that represents 24%. So we group those together, and we can see that basically represent more direct bookings, calendar and booking management, turnover and cleaning, portfolio expansion, and hiring and staffing, and also some challenges with OTAs. And maybe that could be explained by software and service providers refining their offers. PMSs are developing new features, new integrations with different platforms, and that tend to basically make things a little easier. That's the goal, right? Now, let's take a look. We asked our participants what was the most valuable software that they used in 2020. And 45% reported that their property management software is their most important software. However, in second place, we can still see the productivity softwares are still out there. So a lot of people are still using productivity softwares to manage their business. Distance site and OTAs are with the third place, also followed by accounting, dynamic pricing, digital guidebook, and channel managers. Let's take a look at orders, represent 12%, and we are basically seeing turnover and cleaning, smart devices, which is a big trend in 2020, marketing and social media completing here. Now let's take a look at the right, and we can see this chart here comparing 2019 to 2020. In 2019, 24% of the participants reported a property management software being their most important software. And that number almost doubled in 2020. Now we have 45% of the people reporting the PMS are the most important software they use. And that also could be explained by new features and also new integrations. Property managers are realizing that sometimes they have to use a dynamic pricing integration or basically a turnover and cleaning software. Some people are doing home automation, and basically those integrations with the PMS make it a very, very important piece of the equation. And that was also followed by productivity softwares, OTAs, accounting, and dynamic pricing, completing the top 5 of the most valuable softwares in 2020. Another finding that we had is that property management softwares still have a long way to go. We asked our participants what features do they wish their PMSs would provide, and the answer was very surprising. More than 30 features requested. And that basically shows how hard it is to manage a roadmap for a property management software. Again, we have a lot of different operations that requires different features. Only 12% of the participants didn't want any new features. So we can still see the property management softwares are still going to be developed a lot. All right, the biggest winners in this category are more distribution channels. So people are really trying to diversify their portfolio. Also access to guest identifying information, trust accounting, direct booking site, payment providers and integrations, and report and analytics. We also found out that there's a portfolio size gap. Let's understand this chart right here. We can see that property managers with 1 to 9 properties, they're using an average of 2.8 softwares to run their operation. But then when we take a look at 10 to 50 properties, that number goes to 3.8 softwares. There's a slight increase between 50 and 99 to 3.9, and for 100 and plus properties, 4.4 softwares. So what are the big takeaways we can have with this part of the report? The first is that don't expect your PMS to support every single feature that you need. I remember in the Burma conference last year, we were told that hotels usually will use 12 to 20 softwares to run their operation. And in property management, it will be different. Of course, we're not going to need 20 softwares, but we're basically seeing that property managers with more than 100 properties, they're using 4 to 5 softwares each. And what are the keys here? Basically, whenever you're shopping for a PMS, seek for a PMS that integrates with different softwares. Again, cleaning and management, home automations, dynamic pricing, there's insurance integrations. There's a lot of cool softwares out there that really can help you manage and automate your operation. We also found out that PMS is not very common for smaller companies yet, and which is understandable as well. I mean, their revenue is not that big. Sometimes they can't really afford it. But we've noticed that it's pretty important, right? Also, 98% of the participants that reported that are not using a PMS, they reported to have less than properties. And I think the biggest takeaway of this part is that automation means scalability. If you're planning on scale your business in 2021, start looking into automation. That will definitely help you accelerate that process. Now let's take a look at guest satisfaction in 2020 and the role of software in guest satisfaction. So when asked, participants reported that their digital guidebook is the most impactful software in guest satisfaction. And that was followed by property management software and also guest communication apps. And for 19% of the participants, software has no impact on their guest satisfaction. Now, let's take a look at how managers are sharing recommendations in property information. And it's pretty surprising to me that 83% reported a hard copy at the listing. More surprising was 78% already reporting digital guidebooks. And that's amazing because, you know, with COVID out there, we don't want papers on our table. We want to make everything digital. And 78% is a pretty strong number. And if we see the gap, because like most of these digital guidebooks, they're also providing a hard copy. You can print a version of your guidebook. So if you notice the difference between the 83 and 78%, we probably have a gap of 5% of people that are not using a digital guidebook. And that was followed by a welcome email and also a PDF version. And only 10% are answering questions in a case-by-case basis. And that's great, right? We know there's a lot of repetitive questions out there. And if you're using, you know, your welcome email, very informative, or mainly a digital guidebook responding all these questions, I think that's the best way to go. Another important fact here is that digital guidebooks almost doubled compared to 2019. So a lot of people really investing time and into creating that beautiful digital guidebook. Now let's take a look at upselling. More than ever, property managers want to upsell. I mean, you create a new streamline of revenue, you make your guest happier, so there's a lot of benefits in upselling. And we've noticed that 66% of the participants are already upselling. And we also noticed that early check-in and late checkout are the most popular upsells. However, we can see that 81% of the participants wanted to upsell more. And sometimes they don't do it because their PMS does not support the item or the service they're trying to upsell. So another takeaway here, PMSs also have a long way to go on upselling. Now let's take a look at multi-channel distribution and booking origins. And Airbnb still remains as the major source of booking. In general, Airbnb represents 40% of the bookings reported in this survey. And we split this group among two groups. Basically, we have 1 to 9 properties and 10 plus. And if we take a look at the chart right here, we can see that smaller property managers are more dependent on Airbnb, while larger property managers are basically diversifying their portfolio more. So 44% of the bookings for 1 to 9, 35% for 10 plus are coming from Airbnb. Let's take a look at direct bookings right now. 22% for 1 to 9, 27% for 10 plus properties. Verbal, 15% 1 to 9, 19% 10 plus, Booking.com 9 and 11, and TripAdvisor 10 and 8. Another finding that we had during this section in the report was that property managers with no PMSs are 83% more likely to rely on Airbnb and Verbal only. And that's pretty understandable, right? How are you going to manage 5 different channels without a PMS? Sync calendars, respond to everybody. It's quite hard. So bigger property managers are really using PMSs and diversifying their portfolio. And finally, we've noticed that property managers with PMSs are obtaining 36% direct booking, while the industry average is around 24%. Let's start talking about COVID right now. and basically how the pandemic affect the industry process priorities. And this is pretty interesting to me and to Hostfully as well. We can clearly see that turnover in cleaning is basically the most affected area by into 2020. And that's pretty understandable. Again, like I said, new cleaning protocols and also requirements are driving more focus into cleaning. Marketing was also another interesting finding. We had almost 15% focusing more in marketing, while 20% reported focusing less in marketing. So I feel like for some folks, they're re-adapting their campaigns into a different audience, a different target, while 20% maybe are spending more time in new processes, cleaning, and making sure that the business is running smooth in 2020. Also, communication had a big change right here. We can see that people are spending more time in communication, which is also understandable. Less presential contact requires more digital communication. And interesting here that 53% of the reporters have not focused less in any process. So it's been a tough year, and they're focusing basically in every single part of their company. We also wonder about positive change affordable by the downtime. And we can basically see that a lot of property managers took the time to demo more solutions, to basically test and try new tools, and basically trying to advance their business. And guest experience was with 20% was a positive change right here, while 11% focused on review process, also 8% with new technologies, 6% for amenities, and 18% for turnover and cleaning, while 25% of the participants did not notice any positive changes during the downtime. Now let's take a look at the digital tools most used during the pandemic. And we can see here the guest communication was the #1, and that was followed by cleaning, guidebooks, dynamic pricing, marketing, analytics, payments, and home automation. And again, understandable how guest communication is very, very important in 2020. People are trying to make transparent those guidelines for cleanings and actually make sure that the guest really knows where he's going to. At the conclusions of our report is that previous year reports noticed how important tech and automation in general is in the vacation rental management. However, the pandemic has accentuated this assessment. And as if rises in competition weren't enough of a challenge, guests now expect self-check-in, right? They want to type in that number and get into the property without seeing anybody, but they're also expecting more cleanings, right? The expectations surrounding cleanings are higher than ever. But luckily, technology provides an elegant solution and a growing number of challenges faced by hosts and managers. And that's where Hostfully comes into place. We are here to try to make your life easier. All right, thank you so much. I will pass the word now to Rachel. Rachel, thank you so much again. And the Home to Go will be telling us a little bit of the future of the travel after we did the look back in 2020. Let's see how things are going to look in 2021.
Yeah, thank you, Pedro. First off, super insightful. Thanks for that. I believe there was one question when you started wondering whether your data is just for the US market or whether it's really for all of your markets, maybe important for attendees.
Absolutely. The data is basically to everybody. The forms are available. Hostfully has been doing this report for 4 or 5 years. And basically whoever wants to participate, they're more than welcome. So not just the US, but literally the whole world participated with us on that.
Awesome, really cool. I mean, that's interesting to know and important to know, because what I'm gonna present you now to you guys is actually a zoom on the US market, but we actually have also a European version of that report in the making. So that's for the US right now. We can definitely catch up beginning of the year with all of you guys, share with you the European findings if you're interested in them. But today we're going to focus on the US market for sure. Something that's very exciting for me, Pedro, and we talked about that, was actually that Hostfully did their analysis. We did our analysis without really, consulting ourselves, but we found so many overlaps, in terms of trends. And you guys look mostly at 2020. We look mostly at 2021. So perfect match for sure.
Exactly.
And there are a couple of topics I'm definitely gonna touch upon. You mentioned technology, but I think also, like how easy it is to handle that is probably one of the key crucial points and sometimes pains for property managers. Diversification, super important for sure, because I think many property managers as well, unfortunately, had some bad experience, maybe during the pandemic, having all of their eggs into the same basket. So super interesting to see that we're pretty aligned here. All right, so everyone, again, Home to Go. I'm Rachel. What's Home to Go quickly? Home to Go is very proud to be one of the distribution channels of Hostfully. We've been working together since 2019. And we have more than 75 actually of your clients already connected. So very proud about that as well. And quickly for you guys to understand what we do, we bring you more revenues, more bookings. We help you diversify your revenue streams. Very important topic for all of the property managers. And yeah, we try to do that in a very easy way, easy onboarding, easy setup, and also fast integration, because we understand that trends are changing very quickly. So if you want to try out something new, you obviously want to try it out quickly. So that's what we offer. And thanks to Hostfully for making that possible with the great integration that we have.
Thank you, guys.
No, of course. Our report, the future of travel. We asked consumers, so we asked guests and we asked property managers at the same time, what were their outlook on the 2021 travel trends. And these are the results. So especially for the US market, as I mentioned. And the idea was to, obviously reflect a little bit on 2020, but also think about, all right, it's been tough for all of us. What are, the things we can look at for this new year, and understand what's happening, and for you guys, give you tips and tricks on how to react on them. So we will go through a couple of different topics. Let's maybe go to the next slide, Pedro, and look at a really cool number, which is that 88% of the consumers who responded, so potential guests, said that they're actually planning to travel in 2021. And you have to, yeah, whoop, whoop. You have to imagine, I mean, we, you can see at the bottom, that was from end of October. So, the time for us to clean the data, prepare all of that, and catch up with you guys. So, now with the vaccination going on, we can even expect this number to have increased, which is pretty nice. We looked at the US market, as I mentioned, and we looking at that number, we thought, okay, that's already something good. Next slide, we can look at a bit more granular trends. Exactly. So where are the guests planning, their trip? Very important. Very interesting. They're actually planning different trips, which is, a mixture of a couple of things. First of all, it's still a little bit uncertain, how the situation will evolve. So instead of planning one big trip, they, usually plan several, maybe smaller ones. There is definitely some kind of a catch-up trend from 2020, kind of catching up in 2021 and wanting to maybe travel around a little bit more. So the most popular periods are right now the winter. So right now, from December actually to February, and the summer, which is very interesting and related to what you mentioned, Pedro, as well, in terms of, those, this flexibility as well that has increased, and the fact that travelers are being more spontaneous, right? So they do last minute trips. So winter is still the number one, even though we're already in there, kind of already in December. So they're planning last minute trips, the holidays, obviously very big season. But they're also planning ahead. And that's why we see the summer season being also so popular, because there is this expectation of, all right, situation is improving, I'm already going to plan for the summer. So this is important for you guys as property managers to keep in mind, because obviously this might also influence the way you market your properties at the moment. Which pictures do you show maybe as a primary image if you list on different booking channels? what are the amenities you want to highlight at the moment? What is the kind of storytelling behind that property that you present to guests? So important to keep this in mind. We see that winter travelers prefer to stay near a beach in 44% of the cases. And this is actually also, beach destinations are actually number one, and you mentioned that, Pedro, as well, for remote workers, which is a brand new persona. I mean, people were working remotely before, right? But it was more an exception and not really something everyone would consider. And now it's become so common that, I mean, literally have many friends traveling through Europe and just spending 1 month in Portugal and 1 month in Spain because weather is nice. So that's something important for you guys as well to think about when, again, you present your property. If you want to target this audience, workers, remote workers, you really have to make sure you have the right amenities highlighted, the right equipment, comfortable chair, comfortable desk, the kind of setup that's qualitative to work, high-speed Wi-Fi, for instance. So don't think that you're only going to attract people going on a holiday. They're actually people out there still working and actually working a lot as well, even though they're traveling. And Pedro, you mentioned it as well, domestic. That's a very strong trend. The US market has always been a very, very domestic market. Roughly last year, to give you an idea, we were around 75% of all bookings generated in the US from US travelers in the US, so that was domestic. And what we're looking at now next year is actually 90%. Pretty high. So the same, think about that. You're talking to domestic travelers. Think about that as well when you present your property. Alrighty. Next one. Let's look at, what kind of crowd is traveling right now and who are travelers traveling with. Family, even higher than last year, actually. So strong trend in family here. Again, we're not talking just about families traveling, let's say, really because they're off or because of their vacation. It's also, parents traveling with their children, yes, during the school break, but also working themselves, from those remote places. So important trend. And traveling as a couple. That's the second most popular setup when traveling. Behind that, traveling with friends, traveling alone is way lower. Makes a lot of sense, right? Traveling with friends right now, not really social distancing. So we see really an increase in traveling with your family, with your, your inner cycle, rather than having large groups traveling together. The number of the right side is actually comparing the average booking value with the check-in date for 2020, so this year, with the current average booking value we see with the check-in date for next year. So don't believe that, next year will be like twice as high at the end of the year. It's just that right now, obviously, people are booking ahead for 2021, so they tend to book longer stays. But what does that mean for you as property managers? It means that if you have the right strategy now, you can capitalize on those high basket sizes. Super exciting, obviously, because pretty sweet, right? This average basket size, I think everyone will find that quite attractive. And a way to do this, because flexibility is still very important, it's really to play around also with check-in date, remove minimum stays and things like that. But we'll come to that in a second. So that's, the kind of setup we're looking at for travelers booking in 2021. Next slide, we're going to look at our next question or our next angle. Yep. What are the most popular destinations? And we've highlighted the top 20, but it's actually very interesting because it's strongly reflecting, apart from really a couple of exceptions. I think we have Las Vegas on this slide, but apart from really, I think, 2 urban exceptions, otherwise all the destinations are pretty rural. Or really, coastal destinations, and actually very much close to, natural kind of sightseeing points, things you can really do in the nature. So it's very strong, still, taken over from 2020 and the pandemic, a very strong trend about, okay, I want to, get out of the city or where I live, and I really want to enjoy those big spaces. I really want to see nature, and I want to take some time in a socially distanced manner as well. If we go to the next one, we will see more kind of overall the trends for the popular destinations. So 90% rural destinations. This is very confirmed, right? Cabins having a wonderful time right now because this is one of the most popular accommodation type. We see searched and booked on our site for the US market, and you see it's a 148% increase from last year. So, yep, very much matching this kind of remoteness that's very sought after right now. I touched upon that a couple of slides back, but beaches right now, very popular. Again, not just for people on vacation, but also remote workers. Natural areas, very, very popular, even more, like way more popular than last year, actually. City, still there, still on the top, and cultural attractions at the bottom, given that, kind of lockdown, not really socially distanced. So we see that it's not at the top at the moment. If we go to the next one, yeah, exactly. How are our fellow American travelers traveling in 2021? They're literally hitting the road, taking the car. Those drive-to destinations, that's still a trend that's there to stick. Even if the situation is evolving, even if vaccination is going on. I mean, right now we see less and less travelers opting for the plane, and if it's possible, they do take the car. What does it mean is that they tend to, again, go rather to those drive-to destinations, not drive to destinations that are too far away, something that's reachable in their car with their family as a couple. So number one is really like transportation mode is the car. What's interesting is that when we look at what property managers also have to say, we see that 63% of them have seen an increase in bookings compared to previous year, which is very interesting because we know how different the situation might be between property managers and players of our industry. Some of them have had a terrible time, very hard time. And then some of them also have seen like crazy results in the last month. We really like booking spiking. So I think there is not kind of one situation fits all, but it's very like individual realities as well, which is reflected as well in the survey. 82% seeing longer bookings, like longer stays. Pretty sweet for all of us, right? Because higher basket sizes. So keep that in mind as well. And last minute bookings. 90% more last minute bookings. Again, this flexibility and this kind of reacting very fast to the news generally in the situation. Going to the next one. Yes, how does that translate to what guests are expecting from property managers? And I think this is extremely important for all of us because that's the kind of actionable stuff we can take with us, take away with us and understand, okay, how does that reflect on my business? Given that flexibility is so important right now, we've seen answers saying that actually 40% of the respondents, property managers, have made a cancellation policy more flexible, which is definitely the way to go, honestly. Like, we can't advise you to do anything else as much as you can, obviously. But we still see that 82% that are not offering free cancellation. So we understand this kind of tension between, okay, I'm a property manager, I have to offer more flexibility. But at the same time, those free cancellations or this flexibility might be, a burden in terms of uncertainty of, is it going to be confirmed, not confirmed? Is it going to be canceled at the last minute? So what we also advise you, we work with more than 2,000 property managers, so we've crunched the data, is definitely to go for flexibility. But, if you have some kind of last minute vacancies because people cancel, you can always play on the rate, right? You can always set up a price that is some kind of a last minute price. And this will usually get actually highlighted on the different booking channels that you use, where you get a boost in visibility, you'll get a little label, something like that. And bear in mind that more and more distribution channels as well, like Home2Go, have a free cancellation filter or flexible cancellation filter. So if you don't offer anything flexible, you might, not simply be picked up by this filter. So I know it's not, again, one situation fits all, but as much as you can, try to be flexible. Alrighty. Next one we're looking at, let's see. Yes, what are travelers looking again for from property managers in 2021? You mentioned it, Pedro. Extremely important. All the cleaning measures. Cleaning stays really on top. We actually see that guests are including extra COVID cleaning measures. 45% of the guests are including this in the really top 3 decision-making criteria. But we were pretty shocked to see that even though all the property managers have adjusted to those new cleaning measures, still 27% of them are not highlighting those measures in their description on their listing. That is really too bad because guests are literally searching for that. So even if you do it and you think it's a no-brainer, they might think that it's not happening just because you don't mention it. So please mention it, and please don't shy away from reflecting this on the final price, because guests want to be reassured, guests want to understand that they go to a really safe environment. So in increasing the price makes a lot of sense because you have extra cleaning measures in place. So please, please, please don't forget to do this, because we still see almost a third of property managers not doing it. So little tip as well for you. All right, what do we have next? Let's see. Yep. How are property managers actually, starting 2021, and what do they have in mind to start the new year? As you mentioned, Pedro, as well, diversification is super high on their agenda. So we see that 55% have already done that during 2021. And 82%, we are quite blown away by that number, are actually interested in listing on another channel, OTA, listing website, whatever, you name it, but just to get more eyeballs on their properties. And that fits perfectly what was highlighted in the Hostfully report with, this occupancy as being really on top of the property manager's mind. Well, that's literally the perfect answer to increasing your occupancy is definitely, to get listed on more channels as well. So there's definitely a need for that as we can see it. And good news, we're a little bit worried when we did the survey in October that some property managers still hadn't opened calendars like completely for the whole year of 2021. We were very relieved to see that 100% of the respondents actually said, yes, I've opened up for the entire year. So well done for that. I hope all of you have done that as well, but that was a relief. Yeah, to end as well on a forward-thinking note, we also asked our respondents, okay, what are you actually looking forward to in 2021? And we've seen great answers that help us as well leave all the harshness of the year hopefully behind us and look forward. Something that came up very often was the fact that, hey, in those times, vacation rentals are the best choice over hotels or any other accommodation type. So good point for us. The fact that indeed they're not going to spend their money going to Europe, but they're going to stay in the US, right? So that applies actually to also European markets for the European travelers, so don't worry. Yeah, the fact that, guests are discovering destinations near to their home. And yeah, booking longer stays as well, pretty nice. And we're traveling less by plane as well. So a couple of snapshots, let's say, of what our property managers were looking forward to in this new year. I think we're through. Pedro, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, indeed. So upfront, thanks so much. I hope that was insightful. And I heard a little bips while presenting, so I'm sure we have plenty of questions. So I'll jump into that right away. I just want to mention again, we have a great integration with Hostfully. If you guys are interested, yeah, drop me an email. We'll organize that. Make sure you get connected.
Awesome.
Alrighty.
Rachel, thank you so much. It was very, very insightful for us. It's great to see that property managers really taking, doing everything that they can to make sure 2021 is going to be a very successful year. Like Rachel said, I hope you guys are making sure your guests know all the procedures you're thinking about cleaning, open up your calendar, set up your guidebook, make sure you're sharing all that information. It's very important that we take all these steps to make sure we have a successful 2021. All right, let's take a look at some questions right here. Margot, our awesome moderator, has been answering a bunch of those already. But I can see Mark asking a little bit more about the sample of the survey. Mark, unfortunately, we didn't include a slide for talking about the sample. However, you can totally find that in the report. So I'll make sure that we send you the link to the report so you can download it and understand a little more about the sample. All right. I can see some questions for you, Rachel.
Yes. Where are you? Tell me. So I saw, yep, Margot was being awesome and answered most of the questions already.
Yep. Some people are asking if they can remove cancellation penalties for a specific period of time.
Oh yeah, totally. So the way we work at Home2Go is that we currently use your own cancellation policy, right? So whatever you change in your own policy will be reflected on our website. So feel free to adjust that, the way you want. Totally flexible and very much tailored to whatever you guys want to have.
Absolutely.
That answers.
Let's take a look at another one right here. I think Margot already answered them. And for everyone, if you guys haven't seen the report yet, I can see some people asking for the link. Drop us a question here, and we can send you the link to the report. I think it's very important and valuable that you take a look at that report and actually share with your friends and with us. What did you think? We're interested and curious to see what you have thought about our reports.
Yeah, I can see that. Indeed, yeah, Margot already answered, but Jacob was interested in to receive the guide, with the European data. Again, I want to make that clear. I presented the US angle today. We have a European one coming up in January. I'd be very happy to reach back to you guys and let you know about the report. We also have newsletters, data newsletters every 2 weeks. If you're interested in receiving that, drop me an email and you'll stay updated on our latest data, crunching, and analysis.
Awesome. I can also see a question from Jeffrey asking how to manage reservations when more than one booking service is being used. Jeffrey, there are two things you could do to manage your calendars. The first one is syncing them through an iCal. For that option, you'd not need to use a PMS. However, if you link them through a basic iCal, let's say you link Airbnb and Vrbo, iCal, well, partially that works. The only issue with that is that first, you don't get access to basically the guest information through iCal. Basically, you have to go to Airbnb and Vrbo platforms to see all the messages, all the details. And second, the updating time for iCals are not very accurate as API integration. So if you're planning on using different channels, I strongly recommend that you start taking a look at different PMSs. Ask them how fast their API updates and make sure that you have all your calendar synced so you don't have any double bookings. I also can see Erica asked us to send a link. All right, Erica, we're definitely going to send that to you. Share the report. Kathy wants, yes, we're going to send the report to you as well. Thank you, Patrick, for the compliments. We're happy you liked it. There isn't a specific question, Rachel, from Patrick about Georgia. I'm not sure if you know the answer of that, but don't worry if you don't. We can get back to Patrick later on.
Yeah.
Demo.
Yeah, absolutely, Patrick. Thanks for the compliment and thanks for the question on Georgia. I don't have the precise data. I'd be happy to look into that and get back to you if we have anything relevant for this destination for sure.
Awesome. I just stopped the screen sharing right here so I can look at you guys better.
We have another question from Christine asking about does Home2Go list, I assume, list vacation rentals that are condos? Yes, we do. We do. So if you guys have condos, no problem. We can display them.
Awesome.
Yeah. Richard is asking and commenting about the cancellation policy 2020 versus 2021. What is the comparison between the two, which is seen by Home2Go? So you mean, Richard, like what do we see kind of in a trend, right, between what used to have property managers used to have in 2020 versus 2021? What we see in general, that indeed, I mean, flexibility, literally, it's, we see that cancellation policy have become more flexible. So we see an increase in cancellations. We've seen an increase in cancellations for sure this year, very much related to, this very unexpected situation that everyone had to face. So right now, 2021 being booked, looking good. But again, we probably going to be facing slightly more cancellation than a normal year, I would say, if you compare to 2019 or 2018.
Which is also understandable, right? If you want to make sure, I mean, everyone has also the ability to cancel. But sometimes we shouldn't open up that cancellation too close. Maybe you can put a little time in between the trips, so you make sure that not canceling last minute as well.
Yeah.
Now let's take a look at the polls. I'm so excited to see the results. Wow, we have currently people from United States, Europe, and Asia. So our audience is pretty mixed today. I love to see the world hearing us today. Also, let's take a look at how optimistic and pessimistic are you for 2021. And the vast majority of you guys are optimistic or very optimistic. And that's also what I feel. I really think that 2021 will be a beautiful year for the vacation rental industry. I'm not too sure if it's going to be as good as a year for the hotel industry, but again, travelers are staying, inside and stay with their family. They're not trying to go to crowded places, as Rachel mentioned before. As we could see in the map, which was very interesting, a lot of people searching for outdoor places, right? You see national parks out there, really like trending in San Diego. I saw San Diego, like Tahoe, California, Yellowstone. So really, like, people are trying to be outdoors. So outdoor destinations are really going to be pretty increasing a lot in terms of like booking for 2021. We also have a poll to see who has read the report yet, and I can see that 80% of you guys haven't read the report yet. So that's a big opportunity. Please go ahead, ask us, go on our website, Home2Go and Hostfully website. You can get the reports as well. On the Hostfully website, you can reach out through, we have intercom there. It's a chat box, so feel free to send us a question, to ask for a demo, to ask any questions that you have. Again, hopefully more interested than just selling our products. We're interested in help the industry, and Home2Go is sharing the same concern. So let's make sure that together we make this industry stronger and stronger. And we want to see property managers growing. We want to see all the parts of the industry growing as well, the softwares, all the OTAs. Together we are stronger. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I think I really like what you just said, Pedro, right? It's a lot about knowledge sharing and just understanding that alone, trying to go through those times, it's just impossible. Trying to kind of come together, understand what's happening. And if you guys have, please, really any input, feedback. I see, many amazing comments about, hey, that it would have been nice to look into that as well in the questions of the survey we presented to our property managers. I can only encourage you really to give us that feedback. Drop us an email, tell us, hey, what would be interesting, this and this and that, because we make those analyses for us, for you guys. So if there is anything we can improve, let us know. We'd be extremely happy to look into that and make sure it happens.
Absolutely. Margot has been a rock star answering all the
questions.
Oh my
God, yeah. Margot.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Take a look at this slower question here.
Cool.
You think?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you have the answer for that, Rachel, but again, if we don't respond to your question now, make sure we're going to get back to you. We want to make sure we get everybody answered. Neo also mentioned that they're struggling a little bit with being super flexible with cancellation.
Yeah, that's actually a great topic, because again, when I'm saying be flexible, I totally get that it's not as easy. I totally understand that, right? And we see it as well on Home to Go for sure. So a good rule of thumb, I would say, is kind of to look as well at your high versus low season, and see like, okay, what's ahead of you, and the kind of lead time. So if right now people are actually booking for your high season, that you don't have to be too flexible about it. That's, they are very motivated to find exactly what they need. If you feel that you need to increase your occupancy, that's also where, you should be the more flexible, for sure. So there's this kind of always balance between, okay, who I'd say who has the bargaining power, right? It's like, is it a lot of guests looking for a few accommodation options, or do you still have a lot of availabilities kind of open in a very near future, and you don't have so many requests for it? So I would really advise to play with that a little bit and understand, okay, do I want to increase my occupancy rate right now? Is that the most important? Or do I want to make sure I do not go too low on my revenue? That's probably the kind of balance we're looking at, I think. But very personal, for sure.
Awesome.
Yes, and Margot mentioning like Wheelhouse, Price Labs, exactly, seasonal trends. So definitely the kind of stuff to look into.
That's great. I also have seen a lot of people requesting a demo, asking for a demo. We will make sure we get back to you. Just make sure you let us know somehow. Go on the Hostfully website or leave your question right here. We want to get back to everyone, not just with the demos and answers, but again, we want to make sure we are helping the industry as in general. And our time is almost up. So if you have your question, make sure to drop it soon.
Margot is already answering. Lee, superstar Margot, faster than anyone else. We don't have a state breakdown, Lee, but it's not the first time I hear that question. So it's kind of one of the elements we would definitely add. Again, let's keep in touch, and we'll make sure to get back to you as soon as we have something like that in our data set.
Absolutely. Thank you, Richard, for the compliment. Some people complimenting us as well. We really appreciate your audience staying with us until the end. It means a lot. Thank you again for being with us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, everyone. Thanking us, thanking you.
We're gonna. Well, I don't see any more questions. Well, I think it's time for us to say goodbye. Thank you so much again for your audience, for your time. I had such an amazing time with Rachel, with Home to Go, and with all of you super participating like that. Thank you for your time. We will be hosting other webinars, so please check us out. We want to bring more knowledge in and make sure that we are sharing everything that we know with you. And again, together we are stronger. Keep that in mind. Let's help each other, help your competitors, help the rentals around you. Let's make sure that the industry is just one, and we're going to win. And 2021 will be a beautiful year for us. All right. Thank you so much, Rachel. It was great having you with us.
Thank you, Pedro. Thank you so much. Thanks to the entire team. It's always a pleasure to spend some time with you, work on that kind of projects together. And thanks, obviously, to all the attendees and all the property managers here from the US, from Europe, Asia. That's pretty awesome to come all together.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. I'll see you guys at the next webinar. Thank you again for your audience. Have a wonderful day or a wonderful night, whatever you are. And we look forward to seeing you again. Goodbye.
Bye.